Oh, y'all ain't from around here, are you? You just so happen to stumble upon my new show, Redneck Woke. I'm gonna have conversations with rural and southern folk with the intention of moving the proverbial needle just a little bit closer to justice for working class people and the environment. I'm gonna use my normal voice now. Well, my new normal voice. I did used to have a pretty strong Texas accent before my second grade Yankee English teacher forced it out of me. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name's Phil, born and raised Texan, environmentalist, reader of feminist literature. Like seriously though, I actually read it. And certified redneck. Now the term redneck has a complicated history to say the least. So before we travel through the backwoods, boonies, borderlands, and bayous together, I'm gonna give you a short version of that.
Are you blind or are you stupid? Do you like the taste of booze?
When I was growing up, the term was one we were familiar with being used against us in a derogatory way. A word rich people used to degrade poor working class Southerners. Interchangeable with the word white trash even, which is one I personally despise for many reasons. This is probably what most of y'all think of when you hear redneck. But even when I was little, many folks around me embraced the term, wore it with pride, and took it as a symbol of hard work and perseverance that those elitist New Yorkers and Californians would never understand. When I was in my early 20s, I rejected it, along with much of my culture I grew to think of as backwards as I broadened my horizons in college. That wasn't until I learned a deeper history of the word that gave it a different meaning, and yet still represented class struggle throughout its multiple eras of heightened usage in American society. The earliest known usage of the term was from the late 1800s when it was used to describe poor rural folk who mostly farmed and had sunburned necks to show for it, which is not too dissimilar from the common perception of the word today. At the turn of the century in the early 1900s, the term deviated and took on a more political connotation. Southern Democrats who appealed to working class white folks used the term positively, at least from their perspective. Especially Mississippi supporters of James K. Vardaman, who was an ardent white supremacist and used many of the same modern political tricks to appeal to poor white voters, like using black people as scapegoats to their economic hardships. Vardaman's followers began wearing red bandanas around their necks as they leaned into the label that was placed upon them. This seemingly inconspicuous trend, started by actual racial bigots in the Deep South, is somehow connected to one of the greatest showings of worker and racial solidarity, which would lead to the largest labor uprising in United States history. In the early 1910s, in Appalachian mining country, striking unionized coal workers started wearing red bandanas or handkerchiefs around their necks.
Every morning at the mine you could see him arrive. He stood 6'6" and waited.
It's unclear if it was just coincidence or it stemmed from an intentional upper-class connection to the wealthy elite in the Deep South, but coal operators, strikebreakers, and even non-union miners started calling these striking unionized miners rednecks. Union coal miners were swift in their use of the Uno reverse card though. By the 1920s, not only did the term become a unifying badge of pride for them, but socialist organizers and the United Mine Workers in the region had adopted the term as well. A tool to organize workers of every race, creed, and nationality. Every time a coal capitalist called them rednecks as a slur, another coal miner joined the union. This is so incredibly significant because coal companies would often pit miners against each other by stoking racial and cultural prejudices. In spite of all this, in 1920, UMW had nearly 500,000 members and was the largest labor union in the country. In a time in our country when we were far more racially and culturally divided than our current state of polarization, a simple term, redneck, helped to spread class consciousness, unionize the labor force, and eventually win improvements for workers in America, like collective bargaining rights and health and retirement benefits. The term's history is convoluted, nuanced, and rooted in classism and the weaponization of racial prejudices by the ruling class, which is true for just about everything that originated in this country that we live in. It's my intention to use this show as a mirror, to show us who we really are, where we all come from, how the systems we live in shape our actions, and hopefully to inspire potential pathways forward to a future where we realize our collective power restore our ecosystems from centuries of industrial destruction, and eradicate the worst of the injustices inflicted upon us by corporations and their corrupt politicians.
Whether red or blue, they don't care about you. They still worship that same great green God.